Good morning and welcome to TalkSports. It is our weekend program, our Saturday sports special, where we normally speak with the movers and shakers of sports, the sportsmen, the sportswomen, sports administrators, coaches, just about everyone involved in sports. However, on this weekend's program, we are focusing on the relief efforts, that's the hurricane relief efforts on the way in Grenada, particularly in the northern part of Grenada and the sister isles of Carriacou and Petite Martinique. As you are aware, when we had our last program, we spoke about the Carriacou road races that actually should have been taking place today, right? It's Saturday. Should have been taking place today. And at that time, there was no indication. Well, there was I don't know if it had reached tropical storm features at that time, but certainly we were all looking forward to the Carriacou road races. And between Saturday and Monday, see what happened, right? That was, well, I shouldn't say Monday. Well, by Monday, I think things were picking up, okay? But unfortunately, we are in a situation where Carriacou basically been devastated. Carriacou and Petite Martinique, sorry if I just say Carriacou, I'm referring to the sister as they have been devastated. And we decided that Rudian and I, we have decided to dedicate our program this weekend to look at the relief effort on the way in the sister isles and, to speak about what's happening there and the sort of socio impact on the residents, particularly the youth, right? It's a sort of post-Ivan scenario, as we recall, okay? How it took quite a while for the folks to bounce back. In fact, on mainland Grenada in particular, because remember, Ivan Carriacou wasn't badly affected as Grenada, as a mainland. I think in Emily, they had a little more than what they received in Ivan. But what Carriacou received this time around is like Ivan 2.0, and it's a situation where they will have to basically start over again, start from scratch, certainly. Schools and, well, we can't talk about sports because obviously the livelihood of the individuals are more important at this point. Their survival is more important. They have to be surviving to play sports. But certainly at some point in time, and, and it's important, and Rudian, we'll talk about that too. Carriacou actually on the verge of a rise in sports. And when I talk about sports, not just track and field. They had cricketers, they had netballers. In fact, the top female, the goal shoot from the region, remember, from Carriacou, right? And then we have so many of those who have been performing well, even in high schools in Jamaica, for example. And they have been doing pretty well. The boxers, most of our national boxers actually from Carriacou, right? The cricketers, they have national cricketers from Carriacou. And Carriacou and Petite Martinique, they've been doing pretty well in sports. So certainly we have reasons why we should dedicate our program, to the people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique. As I say, good morning and welcome to my co-host, Rudian Sylvan, who is in Toronto, Canada. Rudian, good morning to you.
A pleasant good morning to you, Michael, and to the listeners who have the opportunity to come on and join us on this, difficult and Saturday. When we have to talk about the devastation of our own people. Sometimes, we have seen it in other countries and we feel for them, but when it's home, it's a different feeling, and it's a different feeling today. And we have seen, like, as you recall, the people starting from scratch. And that is certainly hard within itself. Thank God that, there wasn't much life was taken. One is too much. However, based on the situation that we looked at and the death toll that was accounted for, we have to thank God. Okay, it could have been worse.
Yeah, and talking about the death toll, I listened to an update this morning, and apparently, the one person who was died, and it's hurricane related, from what I understood. We'll
Mhm.
of that. And at the same time, I'm hoping to link up with someone in Carriacou on the ground to get an update of what's happening. But um, the, the problem here too is that, and without adding to the confusion on now, I think there's so many mixed messages. We have to be careful, right? We do not
Yes. Yes.
Ivan in terms of the relief efforts, and there's a lot
Yes.
of mixed messages out of the relief that I think the officials now need to centralize the narrative,
Hmm.
because, for example, coming up in a moment, I will share with you some um, some talking points, basically from one MP, and another MP is saying something, and it's sort of conflicting, and they need to be on the same page, because
Yeah.
it's, if you go to follow what's being mentioned on social media, for example, right, and then there are people who actually have um, actual videos to support
Out of
some of their,
facts. Yeah.
yeah, to support some of their claims. They need to get this thing straight, because from what you're hearing, and I mean, you know, I don't understand, especially for those of us in the diaspora, for example, who are willing to assist. And by the way, there are a lot of people who have family members who have not heard
Yep.
from their family members, who are
Including myself.
right, and who are willing, in some cases, to go to Grenada as a point, not necessarily to Carriacou, because obviously the situation in
Yeah.
Carriacou, but there's no reason why, for example, someone, I mean, genuinely have things for family members. And in one instance, I listened to a situation where there was someone who had medical supplies for a family member who's actually ill, right? And the illness is not hurricane related. So apparently this person gets their medication or whatever it is every now and again. And they had that situation where, for example, they are telling them that they are not accepting any personal items, and it was sort of revealing that, okay, after, yes, it can be personal, no, it cannot be personal. I mean, there must be exceptions, there must be circumstances where people will have to send personal things, in the event of some, medical situation. For example, they need medication. The medication I'm sending to my grandmother, for example, you cannot take it and send it to
Give
someone
someone
else,
else. Yep.
because it might be prescription
A different
medication,
prescription
right?
medication. Yes.
And there are certain circumstances. For example, I know of a journalist who had some of his equipment, for example, damaged by the hurricane, and also needs a laptop. Now, you cannot tell me, if I want to assist him in
Cinema lab.
replacing his laptop or his equipment, that I cannot. I mean, I can't just send that, so, and hopefully they assume that, somebody in somewhere that probably need a laptop or so. It has to be corrected. So there are circumstances where you will have to do that. I understand the situation, and people who really want to assist can, send things in sort of generic form, and they'll distribute accordingly. But there are circumstances where you may have to send things directly to person because of
Yeah.
their needs. Okay, and I
Yeah.
think
Certainly.
there needs to be a little, yeah.
Yeah, certainly,
Go ahead.
Michael, we don't want it to be or to sound political. Not on our side, but to the behavior or the song of the people. That's what we
Yeah.
don't need. It
Yes.
should be one country, one nation, one people. This is not a politician or politics situation. No, it's not. Everybody happens to work together for the well-being of our own people. So when it's
Yes.
sung that way, it happened to sung, some to some people, not to everybody, because not everybody who may have the depth understanding that me and you or others may have. Some people take it personally, some people take, so a lot of this stuff we have to be able to rectify and correct and be in one. um and certainly, and people kind of reflect on the past at the same time, because in the past there was political biasness to some. And so people remember certain things. So I say something that we do, we have to remember. We have to be careful because some things people don't forget. So we have to be careful. So that's one of the things that the administration at this present moment have to be able to shut that down, to put things in place and let it be one people, one nation, and we are all for one.
Mhm. Yeah, well, that is certainly what the intention is. This is not a time for the politics, right?
Yeah.
This is relief effort, and I think, by and large, and generally speaking, I think most Grenadians are willing to unite,
Yes.
forgetting the partisan thing. This is not a color situation. When it comes to
Yes.
that, is a situation where people are willing to, but there are instances where they need to really buck up and to
Mhm.
get things going, because you're hearing so many conflicting,
Messages.
things coming out, not just from, and certainly they are fueling, and sometimes are fueling the misinformation because of the different, um, the different things coming out from one person to the other. From one official is saying that, another official is saying that. You have to be on the same page, singing the same tune, same chorus, everything, and that will certainly alleviate some of the misconceptions. Because one of the things I heard, and when I say I heard, I was part of this virtual, and there was an instance where people were actually saying that, hey, if this is a situation, I would prefer, my family is okay. That's what one person is saying. I prefer to hold back until I be able to go to Carriacou. And we don't want that. We want
Yeah.
people, if they are willing to and if they can assist, to assist. But
Process.
if
Yeah.
if the narrative that's coming out and is overwhelming, that things are not happening as it should be, that, I mean,
Yeah.
the minister himself admitted that there was an instance in Petite Martinique where folks were actually taking the relief that was destined for the people. The minister admitted that. In fact, I will share that in a moment. It was
Yeah.
unfortunate, but he was frank about it, and he said, "Hey, we took care of that, right?" And so therefore, if the minister is saying that and is admitting that, they cannot be, on the other hand, they have officials who are denying it,
Or denying it.
because
Yeah.
the minister is on the ground and he's saying this is something that was actually taking place, and we were able to put a stop to it. And there were people who were saying it even before the minister said it, and there were people who were shooting it down and saying, "No, that's not true." But I would, I would.
And that's the thing, and that's why people, so many people want to have different release funding happening, um, and what I would like to see personally, I would like to see most places like we in the diaspora have one central location. So you bring whatever you have, we know it's going to one place for one people, um, and that's what I would like to see. We have a lot of different um, people who are doing different funding. As I see many GoFunding pages, and that is happening.
Um,
And is it for your people only, or is it for everyone?
no,
So that's why I would have liked to see New York one central location, Toronto
well,
one central location, and I would like to see that way it's controlled by the government, where we bring in what we need to bring and they can just ship it out and send it out.
well, when it comes to that aspect, I think the government has set up a central portal regarding funding, okay, a relief
Mhm.
thing, which is very commendable. It's paygov.gd, whatever it is. You go there and
Yes, yes, yes. I saw that. Yeah.
so my thing is about all these GoFundMe people. I mean, everybody will want to set up a GoFundMe and this sort of things. And to me, that is at your own peril, right? If you want to participate in a GoFundMe for a particular um, reason, or like, let's say a school, for example, has some
Yeah.
sort of GoFundMe, so be it. But when it comes to the National Relief Fund, Hurricane Relief, I will suggest you go to the government's portal, right? The government
Yeah.
of Grenada has done one. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines have done one as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And that is what I would suggest. So those other GoFundMe, and you have to be very careful about these GoFundMe, because any and anybody could set up a GoFundMe in
And
the name
GoFundMe.
of
Of
hurricane relief, right?
relief.
Even
Yes.
those, even the scammers,
Mhm.
wherever they are, whether it's in India, Russia, whatever it is, Kenya, can set up GoFundMe in the name. So
GoFundMe.
you have to be very, very careful about those things, right? And I say, if you do so, you're doing so at your own peril. You cannot blame the government or anyone, because the government has set up its own portal. Now, if you go to the portal and you make a donation, whatever it is, you basically get a receipt, right? You get a receipt. It's like paying your taxes,
Paying your
right?
taxes.
Yeah, paying your taxes to the Inland Revenue in Grenada. You get a receipt.
Mhm.
You get the time it was paid, the amount, a reference number, all of that. So with a GoFundMe, I'm not so sure, what it is and things like that. So, and then there's a level of accountability when you do it through the government portal, because it goes to a specific fund,
Specific
right?
fund.
And things like that. So that is one. Rudy, I promised to share some information. First of all, Honorable Ron Redhead provided some insights into the relief. I think he is in charge of the relief effort, if I'm not on the government side, something like that. So we get the information. But this is where some of the conflicting information starts surfacing, when they started saying about no one is basically allowed to go to Carriacou. Well, I could understand, hey, listen, I don't think people will willingly jump on a boat and on a plane. Well, in this case, I don't think the airport is operational, but on a boat to go to Carriacou to land, right? In this time, there might be some with that sort of intention, but I mean, it's not to say it's $5 you're paying to go to Carriacou, right? And I believe that the people who are going to Carriacou are genuinely going to Carriacou to see whether it's their relatives, whatever it is. And in fact, there are people who actually from Carriacou, but somehow living in Grenada, and they have their mother and grandmother and other family members in Carriacou and want to go to Carriacou to bring things to them, and they're told that they can't go, And there was this thing where Honorable Ron Redhead was saying no, and Honorable Tevin Andrew was saying, hey, we are open, you can come, and that's again, I'm saying we need some sort of clarification. Let me get you Ron Redhead and what he had to say yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday, because the thing is developing so quickly that, every now and again, you have to look for the updates. Let me get it.
Obviously, the situation with regards to access to Carriacou and Petite Martinique remains extremely challenging at this time. As such, we do not want to put additional pressure on the system in Carriacou and Petite Martinique, and we need to limit the amount of persons going up to the island on any given day. A state of emergency is still in effect for Carriacou and Petite Martinique. This means no unauthorized travel to these islands. It is not permitted. If you want to deliver supplies, this should be coordinated in Grenada with NADMA. You can contact relief at gov.gd. That's the email address. Contact relief, RELIEF, at gov.gd and request permission to travel to provide relief supplies. But you are not permitted to travel until you receive approval. If you're already on your way, you can drop your supplies with NADMA at Turtle Bay in Carriacou, but you will not be allowed to disembark. NADMA is now coordinating regular shipments of supplies and coordinating the cleanup and relief effort. If you have supplies, they will certainly reach our communities on these islands. But the quickest and most effective way to get supplies to those islands is through the National Disaster Management Agency.
Yeah, so that's Ron Redhead speaking regarding as they said, no unauthorized travel to Carriacou and Petite Martinique. that was him speaking about that there. And I think that is the part that may have some uneasiness among some people regarding, going to Carriacou, going to Petite Martinique, going to visit their relatives and friends and things like that. So let me see if I could add some more regarding. I have some comments from Tevin, that he made on yesterday. Yeah, and I just gave it in some segments. So let's hear what they have to say, and then we'll come back and discuss.
In the diaspora and volunteer. You can volunteer by you can come to Carriacou, but the truth is, if you come to Carriacou, just understand that Carriacou is like a bomb. It's like an atomic bomb dropped on Carriacou, and there's no place to stay. There's limited food, limited water, and all of that. So, but we would love all the volunteers that are coming. They come up early in the morning with the Osprey. The morning with the Osprey, volunteer and leave with the Osprey in the afternoon and come back. That's how they operate. So that's I believe that's one of the way that you can help. The other thing that you can do is to get relief supplies to us. Continue your fundraising activities and get the relief supplies to us. We'll be more than happy for that. Yes, people are allowed to come to Carriacou, but we there's not a restriction. I'm hearing talks that there might be a restriction. There's no restriction. We're encouraging people, if you don't use the opportunity for sightseeing. Most people are coming to Carriacou just for a sightseeing venture. This is not the opportunity. This is not the time for this. If you're not coming to help, if you're not coming to volunteer, if you're not coming to help move and shake things and to get things and to help improve things, it makes no sense you coming. So that's why we're trying to encourage people to limit their access to Carriacou. So yeah. How you can get the supplies to Carriacou? You can work along with NADMA. You could work along with the Prime Minister's office. And there are several other government agencies that are thinking. So I'll encourage you to work along with NADMA, to work along with the Prime Minister's office, and they would guide you accordingly. Those information are online. I'm sure that we will certainly consider duty-free concessions and so on several items that are coming in. Obviously, it's relief, so certainly we can do that. I would certainly keep you posted and as to how we can improve certain things here. Can you do private? I would need to find out from NADMA and others, but I don't think that anyone will stop you from sending a private barrel for a family or friend. No, you can still go ahead and do that. Certainly, Ms. Braffett, the consulate in New York and the embassy, you could also do that as well. Yes, those consulate and embassy, you can use that channel to get the stuff to us. Thank you for your prayers. I will appreciate it. Tarpaulins are now being distributed. We had limited tarpaulins. We received some from the shipment from Trinidad. A lot of people went down the port and collect some. Some were distributed with the trucks as well. We also have another group in Carriacou, Samaritan group, that they are also distributing supplies to the people. So yes, it's been distributed. So one of the things that people need as well is tarpaulins. So consider that.
Right. So that's giving an update basically, and it's actually a Q&A because he was on the live and people were typing questions and he was actually responding. Mm-hmm. So that basically is happening. Let me have some more.
We need all hands on deck. I'm amazed by people from Trinidad and people from Grenada coming up to Carriacou to support and volunteer. The Yarties who are coming to volunteer, thank you. Tomorrow, the distribution will be better. You know why? We are getting more trucks, more vehicles from Grenada. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for organizing the vehicles so that they can come to Carriacou, so that it can assist us with the distribution. It's not that we don't have supplies, and mind you, more supplies and food and water is needed. Thank you in advance. But it's not that we don't have it. It's how fast we can get it out to the people. We don't have the machinery. We don't have the trucks. Most of the vehicles on Carriacou was compromised. And some of the people who say all sorts of things, they're not using their vehicles to come and help. But that's the reality. But in spite of that, I want to commend all the people that are helping. Maxwell Emmons, his roof was one of those that gone. His garage roof gone and destroyed. But he was one of the first man to organize his heavy equipment to start clearing the street. My PS, Javon Williams, house roof blown out. He don't know how his wife and his in-laws, his mother's roof blown out. He don't know how they're doing. But he stayed even up to this point at the NADMA Center. Like most of the workers, all of the workers, as a matter of fact, they're also destroyed. But they stayed here and are working hard. And are working hard to try with the relief to get the support to the people that are affected.
Yeah. So at this point, I thought he got a bit emotional, right? And the emotional is more about the overwhelming support that they are receiving to an extent, right? But at the same time, very thankful for the support that they are getting. Now, one of the things he mentioned that, and I saw it, in fact, that they were getting a lot of supplies in terms of the vehicles and things like that. So the government has provided that. And he said, that, listen, we do have relief, right? But the problem was getting the relief to the areas, and as he said, some of the areas are not even possible at this time. So they're still doing clearing. As a matter of fact, I think at some point he said, probably in another one, that they were still rescuing people, right? There are people who's up to yesterday, people that they have not reached as yet. So, it's a situation where I know people are anxious. There's a lot of anxiety, and that's why I'm saying they need to be speaking on the same page. Because when you're saying one and another saying the other, and then all this happening in between with the anxiety level and all of that, it's fueling the process for people to go and put things on social media. And by the way, when these things start fermenting, it's a difficult process in terms of getting the necessary assistance, because most times when you have these sort of disasters, you look towards the diaspora, right? You look towards the diaspora for assistance, because that's why, for example, when you put up the funding, the bank accounts and things like that, so you have one for Canada, you have one for the UK, you have one for the US. Obviously, you're trying to tap into the diaspora, right? But you have to ensure at the same time that the diaspora trusts the process. You have to ensure that they trust the process. They are not on the ground, and they are basically relying on the information that they're receiving. But at the same time, if they're receiving conflicting information, and conflicting means that one MP is saying one thing and another MP is saying another, right? One is saying, hey, you can come. Another one is saying about no unauthorized, and they're talking about limited access. Hey, listen, it's easy to, to decide or determine whether or not people are going to Carriacou and Petite Martinique line. That is easy thing, you have to be genuine. And by the way, if you limiting access or you say no unauthorized, why it is then for that the Osprey is saying, hey, we are open for business? I don't think the Osprey will go back and forth with 5 authorized people or 10, you understand? It's not profitable for them, right? I don't think they'll operate like that. They are operating as usual as far as they're concerned to take people back and forth, So, all of that needs some level of clarity. But let me continue one more with Honorable Tevin Andrews, I think he says Andrews, right, on his update, and then we'll get a final update from him because he did another one sometime today, where he provided a sort of update as to the current situation from overnight. Let's hear Tevin Andrews.
Petite Martinique supplies have been sent. I know that a boatload of stuff was sent today. The truth is they had issues. The issue is not that foodstuff wasn't sent. The issue was the foodstuff are being sent, but people are not delivering the foodstuff to the people of Petite Martinique. Some people were being selfish and taking all the foodstuff for themselves and their family and not actually delivering the food to the people that needed it. We have corrected that, and the foodstuff is been sent presently to the shelter, and there's a distribution point, and people are receiving the foodstuff. So I just wanted to correct that as well. So it's not a case we were not sending, and this is why we need an all hands on deck approach, and cannot leave this up only to NADMA and only to the government of Grenada and only to your member of parliament. All of us have to take responsibility.
So, just in case you just joined us while that was going on, and especially to those nasty people, and I have to say nasty because this is a time of disaster. You cannot be doing that, right? And I think the minister should not just be saying that so, but there should be some sort of criminal action taken against the perpetrators. How could you be taking the aid or the relief supplies meant for the people of Petite Martinique and destine it to your family? Come on. I mean, a minister should be calling names. This is nasty. One more time.
The people in Petite Martinique supplies have been sent. I know that a boatload of stuff was sent today. The truth is they had issues. The issue is not that foodstuff wasn't sent. The issue was the foodstuff are being sent, but people are not delivering the foodstuff to the people of Petite Martinique. Some people were being selfish and taking all the foodstuff for themselves and their family and not actually delivering the food to the people that needed it. We have corrected that, and the foodstuff is been sent presently to the shelter, and there's a distribution point, and people are receiving the foodstuff. So I just wanted to correct that as well. So it's not a case we were not sending. And this is why we need an all hands on deck approach, and cannot leave this up only to NADMA and only to the government of Grenada and only to your member of parliament. All of us have to take responsibility.
Yeah, Rudian, I think I said enough on that already. I mean, I was so upset when I heard that.
Certainly.
Yeah,
Certainly. Just going back, when timing matters. So when he released that press conference, did they correct it? When Mr. Reddit came on and do a correction, and he said no one was going up. So wasn't sure if timing, because
Mr. Redhead's comments were actually before, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that would have been, I think it could have been a day before or sometime early yesterday. Now, Tevin Andrews, his comments were actually of recent. Late yesterday, and then he did another one, which I'll play
another one.
Today. So it's really after, but it's sort of important that he said that, hey, we have, and you see, and that's why I say people need to trust. People have to get the confidence and trust the process, right? Because there were folks who were actually denying that. But here it is, the MP for Carriacou actually coming and saying yes.
Coming and saying that, yeah.
And I have to commend him for that, because he admitted that we had problems. But we have nipped it in the bud, we have corrected it. And hopefully in going forward, this will not be a case that will continue, right? But you can't have things where people are saying, hey, this is happening, and right away they're saying, no, that's not true, that's false, that's rumors. Here you have the minister is accepting and saying, hey, we heard about it, we investigated it, we found out it is true, and we have dealt with it, right? So that to me is very, very important, very important for for the people to trust the process. Right, let me just get some comments here. The minister gave an update this morning, Comrade Radio. Persons coming to Carriacou, hope you can play the clip. Certainly, we'll do that shortly. Roger Duncan says, never waste a crisis. A fee can be charged for sightseeing. One day only. Sightseeing tour can be properly structured. Money goes towards the redevelopment of the island. May sound crazy, but so was Henry Ford. Remember, never waste a crisis. A fee can be charged for sightseeing. Roger, I don't sure if it might be sightseeing. You can probably charge a fee for entering the island, whether you bring in relief or not, but I don't want to encourage sightseeing. At this time, there's nothing really for sightseeing for Carriacou. As a matter of fact, if the sightseeing should be probably a helicopter ride, for example, so you're not really going onto the island. You have sightseeing tour, you don't have helicopters in Grenada, but I know places like St. Lucia, and then they have for the pitons and all of that. Dominica, they have for the interior, and things like that. So, but probably a business venture. You have a flyover that you can charge people, something. But in terms of on land itself, how do you control the people if you have sightseeing? Because yes, I pay $10, $15, $20 to enter. You can control me. I'm in. He's saying now, right? Okay, he's saying a helicopter is a great option. Yeah, that's my point. Okay, so it's not so much on the land itself, but it could be that is a good option. What about Natalia? Oh yeah, go ahead.
There was a photo of a helicopter ride, Marine One, with George Bush, that was taken at Katrina.
Was Katrina?
Katrina. Yeah. And he got fired for that. Not fired, but fired up for that. Because they claim that he didn't land, he just fly over.
Yeah. Well, no, but okay. So I remember that. But here is the thing about it. It was sort of insensitive of the people who were criticizing him, because the president of the United States, even the former president, there is an entourage that must travel with them. A security entourage
must,
including medical,
ambulance, fire truck, the whole 9 yards. Yeah,
right. So the pushback was that the president, it would have taken so many resources, police officers, all these sort of things, to provide the security for the president to be on the ground.
To be on the ground, yeah.
So
that was my point. So that's where I was going with. Yeah, that's what I was going with this sightseeing and pain. It's still dangerous.
No.
There's still danger.
Well, what's the danger? The danger is, come on, it's just like anybody flying or whatever. There's a danger in flying. There's a danger in flying. But there's nothing wrong in providing a service where people, if they want to see the level of the devastation, and someone decides, I'm offering helicopter ride, right? I'm offering a helicopter tour. I say not ride, but a tour.
Yeah.
I don't, because by the way, it's not interfering with the relief effort on the ground. Yes. You're not landing. So your point could be, let's say, from anywhere in Sotels, for example, right? That's your pick up and your drop off point. Somewhere in Sotels, you go and you can get the ride. You go to Carriacou, whether it's for an hour, whatever it is, back to Sotels. There's nothing wrong in that. If people really want to see, and I'm saying that's for the folks for sightseeing, not for the folks who really want to go in Carriacou and provide.
My point was on land, not necessarily in the air.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, no.
because
That's
there is still a danger in
right.
sense of, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, that's only for the folks who just want for sightseeing purposes, right? And not necessarily going to provide assistance. So you want to go and probably take photos and just see for yourself the level of the devastation from from the air. We have no problem with that. But getting on land, that may be a problem because, as they say, if you get there, you'll have to consider things like food and water and all these sort of things. That's why they even encouraging folks who are going to Carriacou, they'll have to walk with their own supplies. You have to walk with your water because you can't be going to Carriacou and hoping that you get water from the folks who have limited supply.
and 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 that's is one of the reasons that's why I asked the question, the timing between those two conversations, because what Mr. Reddit is saying is understandable. If you want to go to help and support, you have to go through a system, and that I understand. That's why you find a lot of people just picking up and going up. If you have a system where people going to help, they have to register the name. They have to. Those things are very important, and I think that system aspect should be
No,
there.
but
Yes.
certainly, as volunteers, if
Mhm.
you go into,
Yeah.
I could see a process of you, but I
Yeah.
don't see, I bring in medication for my grandma that I have to register. And I may just be going there on 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm leaving with the Osprey and I'm returning at 3 o'clock. I don't see that as a problem. There's no reason for me to
Mhm.
stay in Carriacou, but I may be bringing some, you know, necessary supplies, to an individual that need the supplies, medication and medication that probably may last for a while. And that's what I'm saying, we have to have the confidence where we can trust the process, because there are instances where people are saying that they are sending things for relatives and they are not getting it, and I'm talking about, we can say they're sending clothes or they're sending shoes or whatever. They say they're sending things, and it could be medication. I'm just using an example. And
Yeah.
I use the process where we contemplating on getting some equipment for our journalists. If this is the case, then why would you send it if you don't know if you will get it? Because they were saying, do not put items marked for personally for people, and I could understand in some cases you can't use NADMA as a courier, right? So therefore, if I don't want to use NADMA as a courier and I want NADMA to use the resources to provide services or relief supplies to people who are needed it, then why restrict me from bringing a laptop or photo, photographic equipment to someone in Carriacou, or bringing specialized prescribed medication for someone, you know. That's just the thinking. I'm not trying to think outside of the box. But as we say, there's a lot to be discussed, and I think as time goes on, I'm hoping that the officials, the authorities, will get things and as be as open as Stephen Andrews, where he accepted that there have been problems and they have dealt with it, and not just denying the fact when there is things that, because by the way, there were people who were saying the same thing that Stephen was saying, and there were people who were denying it. But here is it, he's saying that, hey, this was true and we dealt with it. So if there's a problem, investigate it. If it's something
Yeah.
that is true, say, hey, we found out that this
This
was
is what's
happening
going on. Yeah.
and we have dealt with it, so people can continue to trust the process. That's what you want people to do, trust the process, right? Jason is saying here, I think apparently he made a post. He says, I remember someone putting up a post a few days ago, someone, he says, with a all hands on deck program. I also remember that comment spoke about this act of people not getting the supplies as was designated and how to deal with it. The post also dealt with students' relocation, safeguarding from the possible outbreaks, rebuilding permanent and temporary homes. Certainly, that is something that, we really want to look at, because as we know, in the post-Ivan period, there were students who went to Trinidad even though I'm hearing it was not a good experience for some of them, but they went to Trinidad and spent a while there and, things like that. So, but hopefully it's something that they can, look at in terms of the relocation of the students for the school year. Luckily, they are on their recess at this time, so there's no serious interruption, right? Let's get what was the final update from, well, when I say the most recent update from Tevin regarding the relief effort going on in Carriacou and Petite Martinique.
All right, so I just want to dispel a rumor that's being circulated. If you have family members in Carriacou and you wish to send stuff up, you can do so with whatever boats. Whether you have a fishing trawler, whether it's the Osprey, the Tilbury Express, no one will restrict you. You put it on your family's name. Your family come and collect it whenever it comes to Carriacou. NADMA is not taking anybody's private stuff. I want to just dispel that immediately. Secondly, yes, we're encouraging people not to come to Carriacou unless you're coming to assist, or unless you're coming to do some assessment or something. There are people that are just coming to Carriacou to just do sightseeing, and you're adding additional pressure, unnecessary pressure on the limited resources that we have here. So if you're coming to assist, if you're coming to give relief and so on, if you're coming to volunteer, then yes, please come.
I wanted to dispel also that there are people, NDCites in NADMA, that are giving the stuff to NDCites, and NNP people are not getting anything.
That is absolute rubbish. This is not the time for this. This is not the time for the politics. Let's leave the politics aside. This has nothing to do with any P or any political party or any. This has to do with getting the relief and trying to get it out to people as fast as we can. We understand the reality. Before, we had no transportation because most of the transport was down because they had no fuel. We had no access to certain places, so obviously we couldn't get to some places, we couldn't get to some people. Now all of that is sorted. We have food on the island, we have gas on the island, more transportation will be coming up, so certainly we'll be able to reach some of the areas that we were not able to reach. This is day 5 after the storm, this devastating hurricane. Are we getting everything perfect? No, we're not getting everything perfect. This is the first time all of us experience something as catastrophic and devastating like this. This is a time where we need all hands on deck. Everyone can help. There are people in Carriacou that are sitting doing absolutely nothing. Driving around doing nothing. All hands are needed at this time so that we can help bring relief to people in the inner areas and so on. Yesterday someone died in a community, it's still affecting me, a senior citizen, because the support and the assistance didn't get to him on time. I want to encourage people, if make sure that everyone is accounted for in your community, especially the seniors who cannot help themselves. We have given instruction to the police. They are now out in various villages, starting with Mount Pleasant, to do search and rescue efforts. There are some inner areas that are still inaccessible. If you have chainsaws, go up to the NADMA building or go to the station, get fuel, get to the inner areas that are still blocked, and help us clear it. It cannot be left alone up to NADMA. It has to be an all-inclusive approach because we're all in this together. I heard some people talking, listen, I'm homeless, my mother is homeless, most of my family members are homeless.
Your sister is by us.
And they have to stand and wait for the truck the same way like everybody else. See, my son is with his family, and they have to stand in the street and wait for supply the same way. So there's no preferential treatment here. Even me have to wait for supplies. So please, we're all in this together.
Thank you.
Forget the green, the yellow, the politics. This is not time for politics. All hands are needed on deck.
Thank you, Minister.
Well said.
Right. Thank you, Explore Carriacou. But the only thing about this one I didn't like is about the NDC and the NNP and NDCites and thing. There is no play for that. That is not part of the playbook. In fact, I wouldn't even mention that in a question in the MP, because he's the MP for Carriacou and Petite Martinique. And in a time like that, there's nothing as party, right?
I think a part of it could be just rumors, because stuff is not reaching to some people as quickly as they would like it to, so they become this rumor stuff, right? So I think that's part of it too. It may not be that way, it may not be that's what's happening, but I think it's just some rumors that's going on, people feeling frustrated and they feel they're not getting anything, so they start up with this rumor stuff. So certainly they have to put an end to that, and I don't think that is what's really happening. like I said, people when I started in the beginning, people remember the past because those things have happened in the past.
In the
So
past, yeah.
people stick on that mindset that, oh, it's NMPites and NDCites and them who get in first and all these things to them. And that's and certainly so definitely you have to put an end to that right away. And it's about the people. He
Yeah.
said there are people in Carriacou, yes, they lost everything, but they're just driving around. They're not
Yeah,
helping
well,
us all. They're not doing
yeah.
nothing. And you might have some people like that because they
I think I lost your audio for one.
um
Yeah.
so surely. Oh yeah. So I said suddenly people lost everything and they're frustrated. They don't
Mhm.
know what tomorrow going to bring for them. So some of
Yeah.
them are just driving around, but we gotta help. Everybody's in the same boat. It's not only you alone. Everybody
Mhm.
lost something. People are frustrated. So we gotta, like I said, everybody build differently, so they accept stuff differently. They will deal with things differently. But somehow we're hoping that they can just come on board and
Yeah, not losing out on what he said, that is very important. Where on Friday, a senior citizen died. Okay, and it appears that, as we have to say, it's hurricane related, right? Because remember,
yeah.
um, in the Ivan period, there were the number of people who died in the post Ivan, but was actually hurricane related.
Hurricane related.
So
Yeah.
and then he's also talk about a search and rescue operation still undergoing. They
Yeah.
have authorized the
Places they
police,
can get to.
yeah,
Yeah.
places that they can't get to. So search and rescue operation still in process in Carriacou. Well, he said Carriacou in particular. But Roger has sent a scenario there that he wants us to look at. Here's a scenario. I have family of 4 in Carriacou. I'm traumatized by not being able to see or hear from them. I'm worried about their mental health. I choose
Mhm.
to take relief supplies to them personally and take the opportunity to comfort them for the day. What say you, Michael and Rudy? And I think it's just a scenario he's put in there. I don't think it's something personal, but it's a scenario that could be a real life scenario. What say
No, and
you?
and and most certainly, and people like as family member, Michael, we here in the diaspora, and most of us is out here as family, and we haven't physically speak to my grandmother yet, physically, but we had people who went and checked on her, and she's fine. But physically, she had trees around the house that she couldn't leave the house. So from since the hurricane, from since Sunday, she haven't left the house because the trees fell and blocking both the front door and the back doors, right? But she's well, and the trees needed the chainsaw to cut it down and everything, but she's well. But so certainly, another case like that, if you do want to go and for the day, okay, you can go for the day and comfort your family members. And certainly, I believe that that is something that you can do. And not only sometimes you not only comforting them, you comfort someone else. So it's not only for them only, sometimes you go there and you pray with some people. So there's a lot that can be done in terms of a mental aspect. And I'm sure that there are people who probably are doing that, going up there and speaking to people and comforting people. And certainly I agree with that. If you can do that, and like I said, bring personal supplies, especially on medicine and whatever you have. You might have an extra bottle of water that's somebody can get. There's so many little things that can be done. So I if you can, but we don't want overwhelm the people. And that's
Yeah, you
why it
don't.
would be nice to go
Yeah,
through a system. You don't
yeah,
want a
you
whole
don't.
lot. Today you might be going, tomorrow somebody else might go. Next day somebody else might go. So you don't want everybody, my family's up there, so we jump on the hospital and we're jumping up. Then you're creating a swarm of issues that it's too much for them to deal with on top of what they're dealing with already. So you have
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
some, if it's 20 at a time or if it's 10 at a time, 10 family could go today, 10 tomorrow, 10 the next day. So you kind of schedule yourself, and then yes, you can go see your family member to see that they are okay because you haven't heard from them. And that certainly is hard for you. The hurricane is one thing, but when you're not hearing from a family member is a sleepless night for some people.
yeah. I agree in that you don't want to overwhelm the system. That's one. But at the same time, you may have, you know, genuine reason, and Roger's scenario make me think
Yeah.
that whether or not NADMA should look at sub, and I use it in the word subcontracted, but that shouldn't be the right thing in terms of that. But whether NADMA itself is sort of overwhelmed with taking on the entire responsibility, and whether they should not subcontract, I want to use, well, something like that, to other volunteer organizations, like you have the Red Cross, you have the St. John's Ambulance Brigade, you have the Leo Alliance, giving them specific responsibilities to handle. And NADMA look at, the more, in terms of the administration overall in charge of the disaster relief.
Yeah, they can oversee everything, but have different
other service organizations can deal with other aspects. They are, for example, the Lions or Leo, whoever, they're responsible for volunteers. They're saying the Red Cross for medical supplies, these sort of things like that. So if people want to coordinate medical supplies, the Red Cross will be those who, something to that effect. So because you get the impression sometimes that whether or not NADMA is sort of overwhelmed
with everything.
With everything, and everything has to go through NADMA, and NADMA has to give permission, and NADMA this and NADMA that. I think to some extent it might be, taking a lot, and something they have to look at. I mean, and I'm only saying that because when you look at FEMA, for example, here in the US, they do those things. They do something.
And this is not a one-off. It's not a today for tomorrow. It certainly will take. It could be years. It could most definitely be months to come. And you have to prioritize what's the importance now, and not everything is not that important right now. So you have to be able to separate the importance now, the need now, and then the later needs to come. So certainly that's something that they have to also look into. It's hard. Yes, maybe in the next month you think about, okay, what are we going to do with schools? Maybe the end of this month. We can't focus on schools now. Because they still have some time to go before school starts. So you have to be able to separate the need now. There's important things. That is a first need, which is medical, is also first, making sure that people have food. That is a first need. The whole place is devastated. We expect, yes, we're going to build some shelter. We're going to build it. Yes, we hope and pray that something will come for the people, and then you have to understand some of the people, they don't want to leave. People do not want to leave their home. You also have to consider that as well. People do not want to go. So you have to also think that
even if the house is destroyed,
destroyed, they don't want to go. So I think the major the thing that the government, I'm putting this on the government, should do, see the elderlies and the student get out, maybe onto Grenada on the mainland, and provide some sort of shelter for them until they know what the next step is. And I certainly think so.
Right. Let me just take a couple of comments.
Yes, I saw that come up.
Jason is saying, Roger, how about that family of 4 be relocated to Grenada temporarily? Meanwhile, the rebuilding efforts take place. You might be more able and capable to care for them here as opposed to there. It says, good point. A threshold per day is good. And then, yes, Jason, granted, they want to leave their property. That's the other thing.
Come back on that, like you were saying.
Yeah. But on as we wrap up here now, hopefully, and we have just some final comments from you. Going forward, and as you said, especially our young people in particular, there's a hope. And I think probably next week we might want to focus, probably get some officials, because I think they are meeting in the coming days to discuss a process in terms of getting the young people engaged and through the process post-Beryl period. What you're hoping, or what your message to the young people in Carriacou as they ride through the post-Beryl period?
No, my most definitely is to stay strong, and that is a hard challenge for them. This is something that they never thought in their lifetime they'll experience. It is hard for them. Just stay strong, and we have to look at the mental capability right now. We have to speak to that. We have to be able to gather some of these kids together and have them do school activities, have them do some things, to keep their mind away from what they are seeing on the outside or what they are hearing right now. So certainly the mental is very important for the young people right now. And I think that this is something they should do, try and find a way to gather them together, like I said, and just, if you have to talk to them and speak to them, there is not much you can do right now. There is absolutely not much you can do. The only thing you can do is what the knowledge that you have is be able to having some even psychologists and stuff like that, reach out, speaking to them. If it's for the day, like you said, they go up on the hospital for the day and they come back down. But just speaking to them, doing some school activities, especially with the younger ones, putting them away from what they're seeing or what they're hearing, And I think just keeping them active right now is the best, based on where they are located, is the best right now. And certainly in due time, if you have to relocate them, to certain schools, which may happen, then we do that. So it's another thing the government to look at is trying to find families who can take in some of those kids. In the meantime, if that's the way to go for school purposes, certainly, because last night I thought of, so much hotels home, can they just get a hotel, put them in? The cost of that, because you're talking about almost a year, putting them in a hotel for a year, and feed them. The cost of that is beyond the government's budget right now. So certainly it is a possibility, hoping that, we can get that happen. If they can stay in a hotel for now, and then, and then go from there.
Well,
So
not just stay in a hotel. If there are folks who are willing to relocate to mainland for the meantime.
To mainland for the meantime,
and especially if there are folks who probably want to go up to get their elderly folk back, to the mainland and things like that. Then there are reasons to give them permission to go and get them.
And Michael, some people lost everything, everything. There is no way not to put it. You know what I mean? They lost every single thing. And this is the situation that they're doing. Like I said, I'd never like to use the word poor people. We tend to use it a lot, and that kind of a stigma. What we speak tends to happen. I would say that the people are financially unstable. And before the hurricane? So where would they put them now? So we have to, really, really consider that as well. You understand? So sometimes right now they get money. What are they going to do with it at this present moment? What can they do with it, right? So certainly we got to look into some, temporarily stay for them, on the mainland. And even St. Vincent have its issues, so it's not that they can say they can go over to St. Vincent. St. Vincent have its own problems as well. But certainly I think something like that should look into it. But then the people got to want to go. They got to want to leave, and we can't force people who don't want to go.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much, Rudian. Thank you, everyone. But before I leave, my only comment will be for Tevin MP, Tevin Andrew, Honorable Tevin Andrew. So please.
Petite Martinique supplies have been sent. I know that a boatload of stuff was sent today. The truth is they had issues. The issue is not that foodstuff wasn't sent. The issue was the foodstuff are being sent, but people are not delivering the foodstuff to the people of Petite Martinique. Some people were being selfish and taking all the foodstuff for themselves and their family, and not actually delivering the food to the people that needed it. We have corrected that, and the foodstuff is been sent presently to the shelter, and there's a distribution point, and people are receiving the foodstuff. So I just wanted to correct that as well. So it's not a case we were not sending, and this is why we need an all hands on deck approach. And cannot leave this up only to NADMA and only to the government of Grenada and only to your member of parliament. All of us have to take responsibility.
Yeah, that's my closing comment.
So true. Yeah.
MP, I want to know who are those people. Who are those people? Let me deal with them. I'm just kidding there on that part, but no, that to me is bad. It's bad. It's nasty.
And it's so funny, Michael. It happens every single way. It's not only in Grenada, it's not only in Carriacou, it happens everywhere. And it's a nasty, despicable thing for people to do. Think of self in a disaster. It's like people looting in a situation of disaster, and also there's something you have to look into too. People that might come down to another issue, right? So we definitely something that we really have to, and some people might leave mainland to go up there and loot. So that's why I like
Yeah.
the idea of registering
Well,
under the system. That's what I prefer. Yeah.
the control access could be handled in a way that you want to ensure that,
Hmm.
especially with security forces, because my thing is that at the time of disaster, there's some level of vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
Your vulnerability is exposed and you cannot let down your guard. So things like, criminal activities and all these sort of
Yeah.
things, you have to be mindful of those things. So yes, I could understand that in this context as well, in terms of limited access, but also you have to look at situations where there are genuine instances of
Incidents
people want to go to
and
Carriacou
help.
to check
Yep.
on, and not just help, but to check on the family elderly as well. Because, for example, the minister is saying that it was unfortunate that a senior citizen died yesterday
Then
because of the help not received, right?
receive. Yeah.
Received. Now, how do you justify that when, if for some reason, somebody in Grenada wanting to go to Caribou to see about the welfare of their
Loved
grandmother,
ones. Yeah.
grandfather, some loved one, and then they hear for some reason they were denied permission to go,
Access.
and then
Yeah. The
the person
person passed
passed
away.
away. How do you?
Yeah.
So while I'm supportive of the control access, at the same time there must be reason where you have to. For example, you have a guy whose mother, the former permanent secretary in the Ministry of Carriacou and Petite Martinique, he just happened to be in Grenada. He wants to go and bring things to his mother in Carriacou, even though she's a retired PS, and he was denied access. No, something has to be wrong. So, you have to deal with
Yeah.
it. Yeah, thank you very much, Rudian.
Certainly a pleasure.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we'll talk in the week, and
yeah.
we'll have a good
I
one.
appreciate it. Okay,
Thank you for
thank you.
listeners.
Right. Thank you very much, Rudian Stilvan, live in Toronto, Canada. And thank you everyone for your comments. Jason, I'm seeing your comments. So Jason has posted some comments there. If you want, you can check the feed and you can see that. I'm certain that they will continue with the discussion. But certainly, folks, if my concluding narrative is that if you can assist, please do assist. For those who want to make financial contribution, you can go to the government website, and there is paygov.gd, paygov.gd. There's a portal, a central portal where you can make financial donation. I am not advising people, all these GoFundMe thing, that's on your own peril. If you want to, or if there's some sort of specific GoFundMe campaign, probably for a school or church, etc., and you want to, no problem with that. But I will advise you that the government has set up, the government of Grenada, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they have set up their own portal where you can make financial donation. In addition to that, if you're willing to provide assistance to the people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique, NADMA is also receiving things that you can send, whether you want to send diapers, formula, all these sort of things that you may want to send to the people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique. You can do that as well. If you need more information regarding some specific things regarding family members and things, I think NADMA probably is your central point. You may want to do that. I'm not sure if they have set up a missing person desk or missing person registry so that you can find out if your family or your relatives are okay. But I saw a comment where Mr. Clauden was saying that a missing person desk must be established, so people seeking to make contact with relatives and friends can call that number to get help with communication. And that's why I'm saying that they can delegate a couple of those responsibilities to some other service organizations, because NADMA have doing a lot. So probably the St. John's Ambulance Brigade or some other service organization can deal with the whole aspect of, the missing person desk, collating information as to people who want to find out about their relatives and friends in Carriacou, and they can get back to them and tell them, hey, yes, they're okay, such and such is the case, blah, 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 and things like that. So there are a lot of things to be done, but, and then there's also about, well, I know the Prime Minister, well, not the Prime Minister, was the Prime Minister? No, it was the director of NADMA saying that Dr. Terence Walls is talking about they using the blowhorn at the time, going around advising people about where aid is available and, all these sort of things. But we're hearing from the MP as well that there are some challenges because there are people still to be rescued. There are places that they have not entered as yet because of the road and, and things like that. So basically cut off. And I'm certain that with the equipment that they have received on Friday, the lorries and all these sort of things, the pickups, they may be able to do that. And they also receive some heavy duty equipment that they'll be able to clear roads and do what they need to do to rescue the people. Folks, thank you very much. Hopefully on our program next week, we'll try to dedicate it to the specifically looking at the social impact of the young people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique. Instead of early as they sort of recover and things, but some of the alternatives that, and obviously your suggestions as well, and assisting the people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique. At the same time, folks, let us not forget that while we are focusing on Carriacou and Petite Martinique, the folks in the northern part of Grenada, in St. Patrick, there are parts of St. Patrick that were badly affected as well. Okay, so we also have to remember that it's not only the folks of Carriacou and Petite Martinique. Yes, they were devastated, but similarly, there are situations in St. Patrick where they also need the assistance, right? So, not just Carriacou and Petite Martinique, there's also the mainland. But as similar, we certainly have everyone in our prayers. So those who are affected, whether they're on the mainland or Carriacou and Petite Martinique and the rest of the Grenadines. That's all for our program for this week, folks. The invitation is join us next Saturday, God's willing, for another program where we look at some other issues. May have a lot of sort of sporting incline. Okay, thank you very much. Do enjoy your